They laughed at her before she even spoke. Not because of something she did, but because of who she was. Alyssa stood there in a black service uniform, her hands trembling under the weight of a crystal tray, surrounded by people who measured human worth by money, skin color, and silence. A single sentence whispered in a foreign language cut through her like a blade. The room exploded with laughter, and in that moment, she felt it again. The old, familiar ache of being seen as less, of being expected to swallow humiliation just to survive. Her heart pounded. Fear told her to walk away. Survival told her to stay quiet. But something deeper, something raw and dangerous, rose in her chest. She lifted her head, knowing that whatever she did next could cost her everything. And if you stay until the end of this story, you'll witness the one unexpected response that shattered the room and changed her life forever. The Grand Meridian Hotel didn't smell like food. It smelled like money. Polished marble floors reflected crystal chandeliers. Waiters in tailored suits moved like chess pieces. Laughter floated above linen-covered tables where powerful people spoke loudly, certain they owned the room. Alyssa Brooks blended into none of it. She was 25, black, and wearing a dark service uniform that seemed to erase her before anyone bothered to really look. To most guests, she wasn't Alyssa. She was the server, a pair of hands, a moving shadow. Her feet ached. 10 hours into a double shift, the kind she'd picked up without hesitation when the hospital called again that morning. Her mother's insurance had denied another procedure. Again. The words still echoed in her chest. Out of coverage. Non-essential. Reapply next month. Alyssa adjusted the tray on her shoulder and kept walking. She had learned early that showing exhaustion made people crueler. Her adoptive father used to say, "Stand straight, even when they want you small." He had been a linguistics professor, a quiet man who believed language could be both a shield and a blade. He taught her words the way other parents taught self-defense. Tonight, she needed that shield. The ballroom was packed. Political donors, media executives, tech investors. And at the center table, surrounded by men who leaned in to listen, sat Howard Whitmore. Everyone knew his name. Energy billionaire, major donor, a man who never lowered his voice because the world had always leaned closer when he spoke. Alyssa approached his table carefully, setting down crystal glasses one by one. That was when she heard it. The words weren't loud. They weren't even shouted. They were spoken casually, confidently in Arabic, as if he assumed no one around him would understand. People like her shouldn't touch things this expensive. The table erupted in laughter. Not nervous laughter, not awkward laughter. The kind that lands like permission. Alyssa froze. For a moment, the sound in the room blurred. Glass clinked. Someone coughed. Dresses rustled. But those words stayed sharp. People like her. Her fingers tightened around the tray. Heat rushed to her face, not shame, but something hotter. Anger. Memory. Every time she'd been followed in a store, "You're so articulate," said with surprise. Every silence when she was the only black woman in the room. She could walk away. She'd done it 1,000 times before. But something inside her snapped into place. Alyssa slowly set the tray down on the side table. The crystal made a soft sound as it touched the wood, quiet but deliberate. The laughter faded when people realized she hadn't moved. Howard Whitmore leaned back, amused, not even looking at her. That's when Alyssa spoke. She answered in flawless Arabic. "Crystal doesn't make a man important," she said calmly. "It only reflects the character of the one holding it." Silence slammed into the room, not the polite kind, the stunned kind, the kind that makes people suddenly aware of their own breathing. Howard turned. For the first time that evening, he actually looked at her. His smile faltered. His eyes narrowed, not in anger yet, but disbelief. He had used that language as a weapon. He hadn't expected it to be taken from his hand. Around the table, faces shifted. A woman in diamonds stared at her napkin. A senator adjusted his tie and avoided eye contact. Laughter had vanished, replaced by something uncomfortable. Across from Howard sat his daughter, Claire Whitmore. She hadn't laughed. Claire was in her early 30s, a professor of international relations at Northbridge University. She had spent years studying power, language, and how silence protected the wrong people. She leaned forward now, eyes fixed on Alyssa, not with shock but recognition. Howard cleared his throat. "Where did you learn to speak like that?" he asked, this time in English. Alyssa met his gaze. She didn't lower her eyes, she didn't raise her voice. "From someone who believed words shouldn't belong only to the powerful?" A murmur rippled through the room. Howard's jaw tightened. "Do you realize what you just did?" he asked quietly. "You embarrassed me." Alyssa didn't flinch. "I answered you," she said. "If that felt embarrassing, maybe that's not my fault." You could feel it then, the shift. This wasn't just about a comment anymore. This was about control. Howard stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Loud, sharp, a laugh meant to reclaim the room. "You're bold," he said. "Bolder than most people here." A few guests chuckled, relieved to be told it was safe again. But the room wasn't the same. Alyssa felt it as she stepped back into motion. Eyes followed her now, not dismissive, cautious, curious. She returned to work, her hands steady, though her chest still burned. Claire tried to speak to her twice as Alyssa passed the table, but Alyssa kept her answers short, polite, professional. She had learned that too much closeness could be dangerous. In the hallway near the kitchen, Alyssa finally checked her phone. 3 missed calls from the hospital. Her throat tightened. This was the part no one in that ballroom would ever see. The bills, the fear, the knowledge that one complaint from a man like Howard Whitmore could cost her this job. That dignity didn't pay rent. She took a breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked back into the light. She didn't know yet that someone had recorded the exchange. She didn't know the video would spread. She only knew one thing. For the first time in her life, she hadn't swallowed the words, and the room had listened. Before you continue, this was only the beginning. In the next part, Alyssa's moment of courage will collide with reality. Online backlash, racial hatred, unexpected allies, and a choice that could either save her mother or cost Alyssa everything before moving on. We want to hear from you. If you were Alyssa, would you have answered back or walked away? Yes or no? Your voice matters more than you think. Alyssa didn't see the video until the next morning. She was standing on the Red Line platform, coffee gone cold in her hand, scrolling through her phone while the train screeched into the station. Her name wasn't in the caption. Her face was. The clip was short, 23 seconds. Howard Whitmore's voice in Arabic. The laughter. Then her reply. By the time she reached her stop, the video had crossed 2 million views. She didn't feel proud. She felt exposed. At work, everything was different. People stared openly now. Some smiled like they knew her. Others looked irritated, as if she'd broken an unspoken rule. In the staff locker room, conversation stopped when she walked in. Ethan, the bartender, caught her eye. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Alyssa nodded. "I think so." She wasn't. By noon, management called her into the office. The assistant manager didn't offer her a seat. He folded his hands carefully, like someone trying not to spill something. "You embarrassed an important guest," he said. "Whether or not he deserved it isn't the point." Alyssa felt her pulse in her ears. "He spoke to me in a language he thought I wouldn't understand. He insulted me." The man sighed. "This isn't about right or wrong. It's about optics." That word again. Optics. The meeting ended without a warning, without a punishment, which scared her more. Outside, the internet was doing what it always did, splitting into sides. Some called her brave, a role model, a symbol. Others said she was disrespectful, ungrateful, just a server who forgot her place. One comment had over 10,000 likes. If she didn't like it, she could have quit. Alyssa read that line over and over. At the hospital that evening, her mother squeezed her hand. "You did nothing wrong," she said softly. Alyssa smiled, but her chest hurt. Doing nothing wrong had never protected them before. 2 days later, a letter arrived at her apartment. No return address. Heavy paper. Gold embossed logo. Howard Whitmore's foundation. Her hands shook as she read it. An invitation. Not an apology. Not a threat. A meeting. She almost didn't go, but the insurance company called again that night. Another denial, another delay, another reminder that time was not on their side. So she went. The office was nothing like the ballroom. No chandeliers, just glass, steel, and quiet authority. Howard Whitmore stood when she entered. "I won't waste your time," he said. "You made me look foolish. The internet loved it." Alyssa said nothing. "I could make your life difficult," he continued, "but I won't." That surprised her. "My daughter," he said after a pause. "Claire, she thinks you're interesting." Claire entered then, calm, observant, not smiling. "You're more than a moment," Claire said. "But moments fade. Systems don't." She slid a folder across the table. Inside, conference schedules, interpreter roles, pilot programs. "We're offering you training," Claire said. "Paid, legitimate, not charity." Howard watched Alyssa closely. "I don't apologize easily," he said, "but I respect nerve." Alyssa closed the folder. "Respect would have been not humiliating me in the first place," she said. Howard nodded once. "Fair." She left without answering. That night, protests started outside the hotel. Not for her, against her. A small group. Loud signs. "Servers should serve. Don't bite the hand." Someone spray-painted the side entrance. "Know your place." Alyssa stood across the street and stared at the words until her vision blurred. At home, she cried for the first time since it happened. Not because of Howard, because of the comments from people who looked like her, who said she'd made things worse, who said silence was survival. The pressure grew. Reporters called. Activists argued over her. Strangers stopped her on the street. Some thanked her. Some warned her. Claire texted once, "This offer won't stay open forever." Then everything cracked. Her manager called her in again. This time, security stood by the door. "We're letting you go," he said. "Too much attention, too much risk." Alyssa didn't argue. She walked out carrying her locker box while guests watched through glass walls. At the hospital that night, her mother slept. Alyssa sat alone, holding the folder Claire had given her. She thought about the spray paint, the comments, the laughter, and she thought about the ballroom going silent. She called Claire. "I'll do it," she said, "but on my terms." The conference was 3 weeks later. International, high profile, no room for mistakes. On the morning of the opening session, Alyssa stood backstage wearing a simple black suit. No uniform, no tray. Her hands shook as she adjusted the headset. On stage, Howard Whitmore waited. When she began translating, her voice was steady, clear, unapologetic. People leaned in, not because she demanded attention, because she commanded it. And somewhere in the crowd, a young black girl watched the live stream and realized something important. The world would always test your silence, but it never forgets when you speak. The room was quieter than Alyssa expected. Not silent, just attentive. The kind of quiet that meant people were actually listening, not waiting for their turn to speak. The Global Policy Forum had gathered leaders from across the US and Europe, diplomats and executives who had learned to sound confident even when unsure. Alyssa stood at the edge of the stage, headset in place, notes folded once and tucked away. She wouldn't need them. When Howard Whitmore began his opening remarks, the room leaned forward. Alyssa translated every sentence with precision, her voice calm and measured, carrying the weight of meaning without the noise of ego. She didn't soften his words. She didn't sharpen them either. She honored the truth of what was said, no more, no less. Something changed as the session continued. People stopped looking at Howard. They watched Alyssa, not because she demanded attention, because her presence made the room feel honest. During the break, a woman from Berlin approached her. "You don't just translate words," she said. "You translate intent." Alyssa thanked her, surprised by the warmth in her own smile. For the first time in weeks, her chest didn't feel tight. Later that afternoon, Alyssa was invited to step onto the stage, not as an interpreter, but as a speaker. The request hadn't come from Howard. It came from the panel moderators after dozens of audience members asked the same question. "Who is she?" Alyssa hesitated only a moment. She walked to the microphone and looked out at the room. Faces of every shade looked back. Curious, guarded, open. "I wasn't supposed to be here," she began. "Not like this." A soft ripple of laughter moved through the audience. "I used to work as a server. I carried trays through rooms like this one. I learned how to disappear without being asked, how to smile while someone pretended I wasn't human. The room stilled. I didn't speak up because I wanted attention. I spoke up because silence was costing me pieces of myself, and because I knew that if I stayed quiet, someone else, someone younger, someone smaller, would learn that quiet was the price of survival. She paused, breathing steady. But survival isn't the same as living. When she finished, there was no thunderous applause. Just something better. People stood, slowly, deliberately, one by one. After the conference, Claire found her backstage. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't say anything at first. She just handed Alyssa a folded piece of paper, a contract. Alyssa skimmed it, heart racing. A full-time role, fair pay, health coverage. "My mother," Alyssa said quietly. "She's still sick." Claire nodded. "We included family coverage." Alyssa closed her eyes. The weight she'd been carrying for years finally slipped from her shoulders. 2 months later, Alyssa no longer wore a uniform. She wore confidence the way it was meant to be worn, comfortably. Her mother's treatment resumed. The insurance battle stopped. The apartment felt warmer, lighter. Life wasn't suddenly perfect, but it was possible again, and the world kept talking. The video from the ballroom never went away. It turned up in classrooms, in diversity workshops, in late-night conversations between people who didn't always agree. Some still criticized her. Some still said she should have stayed quiet. But more people said something else. They said, "I've been there." One afternoon, while Alyssa waited for a train, a teenage girl approached her. Black, nervous, hopeful. "My teacher showed us your video," the girl said. She said it matters how we answer the world." Alyssa smiled. "It does." The girl nodded. "I want to be brave like you." Alyssa knelt to her level. "You already are. Bravery isn't loud. It's just honest." The girl grinned and ran back to her friends. That night, Alyssa stood on her balcony and looked out at the city. The same city that had once laughed at her. The same city that now listened, sometimes. She thought about Howard Whitmore, about power, about how it could shrink or expand depending on who held it. She thought about silence. Silence had kept her employed. Silence had kept her safe. Silence had nearly erased her. Speaking up had cost her a job, but it gave her a voice. And once found, a voice doesn't go away. Alyssa didn't believe she'd change the world, but she knew she'd change something. And sometimes that's enough. Now we want to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Do you think Alyssa made the right choice when she spoke up, even knowing the risks? Have you ever faced discrimination and wished you'd had the courage to speak out? If you like this story, comment 111 below so we know you stayed until the end. Tell us which country you're watching from and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your voice matters more than you think.